week I've been thinking, do you ever watch people do a speech like a politician, and they're just doing a speech like this, and you sort of think, if only they'd gone to Toastmasters.
Yeah.
If only they had just gone, even if only for their benefit, if not for my benefit, or everyone else's benefit. And I was thinking, all week I've been thinking, how can I really explain this so simply? And how can I really explain this achievement? And yesterday I was doing sailing with my friend Scott, and Scott had the perfect example. Now Scott is a guy I know from Toastmasters, and he has not just done his 10 speeches for Competent Toastmaster, not just another 10 speeches for his Advanced Toastmaster Bronze, not just another 10 speeches for Advanced Toastmaster Silver, not just another 10 speeches for Advanced Toastmaster Gold, 40 speeches in all, but he is a good guy and he is able to do impromptu speeches. You just say to him, talk to me for 5 minutes about, and he'll give you 3 subjects, you choose one, he will do it. He is an expert speaker and very engaging. And he was telling me a story about his daughter. Now his daughter, yesterday, we were sailing in San Francisco, his daughter was in the San Francisco Chronicle yesterday because she was a valedictorian at the school she was in San Mateo. And part of her speech as valedictorian was in the paper. Her speech was exceedingly well received. The principal's was not. So we discussed the differences. So it turns out that both of them did a very similar speech on Obama. Both of them did it back to back, so Jessica was first, and then the principal was second. And the difference was quite palpable. So I said to Scott, what is the secret? And he says, well, I said to Jessica, there are 3 things that really matter. Number 1, structure, opening, 3 points, close. Vocal variety, don't just be boring like this. And the third is eye contact. Now, of course, in the Toastmasters guides, we also see gestures and other things like that. So he concentrated on those 3 points, and they rehearsed 3 times, and she gave a fantastic speech that was well received. But right after her speech was the principal's speech, which lacked structure, lacked vocal variety, and lacked eye contact. And the difference in achievements is the Toastmaster difference.
Yeah! That was excellent.
And if you notice, Rupert's speech gave examples of all 3 of those elements. Arnett's speech, short speech, is a speech about Toastmasters itself. Please help me welcome Christina Bell.
This was a short speech? I could be wrong, but public speaking seems to be the only fear people get real serious about. Lots of people are afraid of spiders and heights, but you don't see a lot of organizations addressing those fears. So why would someone afraid of public speaking work so hard to mitigate the fear? I'm not in any kind of therapy for arachnophobia. Public speaking is probably easier to avoid than heights, flying, crowds, needles. Fellow Toastmasters, please forgive me for my doubts, but I don't think you're really here because you're afraid of public speaking. I think you're here because you want to speak publicly. In American history alone, speeches have been crucial in freeing slaves, women's suffrage, protection of labor, uniting the Allies, commemorating the first walk on the moon, comforting the grief of a stricken nation after 9/11. It's the strong, clear cry of a single voice which we rally, soothing, motivating, encouraging us to our best efforts of morality that I believe we wish to cultivate rather than exorcism of fear. What if tomorrow you woke up with a voice that had the power to move the masses, to shake the world? Is that why you're here? I think not. Could you wake up with that voice and go to work, have a latte and watch TV? I think fear of public speaking may be more justified than we realize. How might fear of public speaking have looked in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s eyes? Not as a matter of, what if I stumble in my delivery? but rather, what if I am imprisoned or start riots? We should be careful what we wish for.
Thank you, Christina. And now one of the funniest people I know, help me welcome Jeff Wallace.
No, it's not going to be a long speech. I read a study, and I'm going to tell you exactly what the study said. But before I do so, I want you guys all go back in time. For some of you, it's going to be way back in time. But go back to a time, elementary school or high school. And there was this kid. There's always this kid in every single class. I'm going to call him Jimmy. Jimmy was a kid that sat in the very far back of the class. He had his finger up his nose. He was drooling all over himself, staring at the ceiling just like this. Not only is it obvious that Jimmy is bored out of his mind, but according to the study, Jimmy is probably the smartest kid in the class. Yes. As we were learning how to add and subtract in elementary school, Jimmy was figuring out the pies and the numbers. As we read books with cute little pictures and then maybe a couple of sentences, Jimmy was reading the dictionary in Chinese or some other language that we probably have never even heard of. And how do we treat these young little Einsteins? We write their names on the board. We send them outside to sit for not paying attention. We'll send them to the principal's office. The teacher will even call their parents and tell them that they're not participating in class. Little does the teacher know that Jimmy could probably teach the class if he wanted to. In fact, Jimmy is probably going to be a future leader of this country. So, for all you people out there that have kids, young kids, or when you have kids and they come home and making fun of the kid with the finger up his nose, tell your child so one day that Jimmy could be signing a paycheck, Mr. Toastmaster.